Good afternoon, folks. We are live and up and running once again. Let me get everything switched over to the right layout. We will jump into today's session with some Dyson Sphere Program. Alright, we're going to run through the video game inspired royalty free playlist today. We'll go ahead and get everything loaded. A little bit of background, since I have not streamed this game in probably 2 years or so. While I was on the road traveling last week, I decided to start up a new save file and return to the game and once see what's changed, what's been updated since the last time I streamed it, and also to see if I could progress through the game, see what I remember, and just kind of go through another playthrough, maybe do a couple different things as far as build strategy and how I wanted to set up a lot of stuff. So we are, according to the save file, it says we're just shy of 30 hours, which I guess is right. But for those who haven't seen Dyson Sphere Program, kind of similar to what we've seen in Factorio, what we've seen in Satisfactory. This is a factory auto sim game with kind of a focus on a micro base building expansion on the planet you start with, and then the whole point is to eventually branch out into the rest of the planetary system and then go interstellar between the different planetary systems. And so the macro focus expands quite a bit more as you go. And where I'm at here, we've progressed through yellow science. The next one up is purple. But this is the main planet we started on. It is only a portion covered because I've been kind of focusing on keeping everything concentrated, and I'm probably going to need to overhaul the base again once we get planetary logistics, which should be soon. But if we look at the tech tree, this is our next research target to get the next tier of upgrades, but there's a lot of stuff in between we still need to get. We want interstellar logistics systems. Ultimately, planetary is one I just unlocked, which gets us the towers, allows us to truck things across different ends of the planet, which will be helpful. But in order to get to some of the tech and start getting purple science, we're going to need graphene. This is my first major to-do. That's a good kind of a overview of this particular base. Unlike the last main save that I had when I played through this game, where we used kind of a bus system where everything is centralized onto a main corridor of belts, and then we pull materials off to divert or build or whatnot. It's coming off of one assembly line. I'm doing a kind of hybrid mall setup on this playthrough just to see how I like it and how effective it is. And it's not optimized because I only, within the last 10 hours or so, got drone logistics, or bot logistics rather, little fidget spinners. And these are serving as kind of the longer distance trafficking source in order to get things from point A to point B. And so, unlike the bus where everything is on belts centralized, the intent is to have all of the core components put into storage like this and then flown around by the bots wherever I need them. Problem is, everything is still kind of spread out, and I don't have all of the different building components and core things that I normally use in one convenient location. That's kind of the end goal of having a mall set up. So instead, things are kind of spread out and clustered. For example, we have assemblers, belts, level 1 belts, inserters here, and other components like the optics components and glass down here. Normally we want everything kind of in one spot so that all of the building components are being filtered down to the assembling spots and all of the things are in one place. But I didn't really want to overhaul everything completely until I had planetary logistics, because this is where I started building when I first started the save. I've scrapped the entire base and rebuilt it once, but the mineral fields that are here, like this is the copper one, some iron ones nearby, they're going to be tapped out soon, and we're going to have to utilize all these other nodes around the planet in order to get what we need at a much larger scale. And so I didn't want to really bother with setting up alternate bases and then belting stuff all the way across the planet. So to that end, we need to get, look at our crafting. This is kind of our immediate target, getting to planetary logistics. But there is one new component, the particle container, which I need. In order to get that, if we work backwards, we need electromagnetic turbines, which we have the stuff for, but we're not producing the magnetic rings, magnetic coils at a high rate. In fact, I think this spot here, which is only being produced by 4 assemblers, this is what I started with way back near the beginning. That's not going to cut it for all the production that's going to be needed. And so I think I might have to decentralize where a lot of this stuff's being produced, because again, everything here is going to run dry soon. So we have a couple options on how to deal with that. Once we have the materials to build planetary logistics, we could do a completely ground up base somewhere else. Leave this one here so we can get our core components. Our research is all being funneled down here. The science labs, yellow, blue, and red. Well, that's one option, to sort of set everything up from the ground up elsewhere, and then maybe ultimately just scrap this base or just leave it, because again, everything's spread out just based on where I had stuff being mined. Here's coal, stone is a little bit further to the south. Way further south. Where I put stone? Over here. A couple nodes of stone funneling up to the main base. They're basically being flown back and forth by the fidget spinners here. Circuitry components I was working on here. Started getting attack drones here for fighting stuff. If we zoom out, we currently don't have the enemy robots attacking us on this planet, but their main hive in the system is decently sized, which means they're sending out their own resource gatherers to other parts of the system, specifically over here. We do have the ability to go between planets. It takes a couple minutes, but this base over here is the first satellite planetary base that I was working on, and this is where I've been getting titanium. It's not automated as far as getting stuff to and from the base, so if I need stuff, I have to fly over there, load up, and then fly back. But we managed to keep the dark fog off of this base for a bit too. In fact, I think they're gone for the moment, but because the hive is getting built up, they will periodically send their little base building colonized things to either the satellite base or my main one here, which means they'll touch down and we have to kick them off the planet again. So we're on a bit of a timer. But first off, we're going to need stuff for graphene, which means we need sulfuric acid. Fluid production, oil, crude oil, all that stuff. That's here. Here's the refineries that are turning base crude oil into refined oil and hydrogen. Right now, this is our only means of processing oil, and it's being dumped in the chemical plants up here, which is giving us plastic and organic crystals, which goes into the components needed to process titanium to get titanium crystals. And the crystals are what goes into yellow science along with, I never remember the names, diamonds. Diamonds plus titanium crystals get us the yellow cubes. And because all the titanium alloy ingots is being made on the satellite base, I've had to fly back and forth to grab an inventory full and then dump them in the chests for now. It'll be nice once we have interplanetary logistics stuff that'll truck things back and forth, but we're a ways off. I don't think we'll get there in this session. But we need to do sulfuric acid, so we're going to need raw stone. Refined oil is being belted here, and then water. Fortunately, we've got water up here. So my plan was to extend this out a ways, and then run some plants that are going to start churning out the acid we can use to make graphene. I believe we can run 2 belts with level 1 inserters. So we take our production here. We run 2 this way. Kind of wish it was flipped, but that's alright. We run 1 belt for stone, which is going to need to be in here. Spinners. Fly in stone ore, and then we're going to run this past the chemical plants on input for the 3rd component, and then output we'll dump maybe closer to here, run it backwards. The idea would be to have storage tanks kind of near over here that'll be stacking up all of the acid, and then we can send it wherever we need to. We got a stretch from Lava. What's up, Lava? Good to see you. Hope everything is going alright with you. I know it's been a while since I streamed. I was on the road last weekend, and work was appropriately stupid this week, but we should be back to a semi-regular streaming schedule. I should be able to post an actual schedule on the Discord before the end of the day today for next week. Eventually we're going to have to upgrade to Mark II everything, but I'm going to see if it works a little bit better efficiency-wise if I wait till we've got more automation to do that. In past saves, I've kind of jumped into that 2nd tier faster, and I don't know if that's really necessary. We'll find out. The idea here, and we'll have to see. Our stone might be the... One of these is going to lag, we'll see. But we can extend this out with a couple more of the chemical plants to up production. Oh, I didn't put output. What we can do is set up, we'll go too wide on chemical storage. Oh, will that work? I think these need to be belted in between so that they transfer their contents. Yeah, they won't just feed automatically between the two. Now the idea is we can take all the materials that we need from here and set up the next production line, which should be graphene down parallel below them. For that we need, it's activated carbon, energetic graphite, it was close. Which we should be getting over here. Ooh, it's not that much. You have a lot of coal, which is what you smelt to get the graphite. I wonder if it makes sense to set up a dedicated production line for energetic graphite down here. Well, let's do that. That way we don't have it pulling from the same supply up here, which is already going to a couple places. Oh, I'm out of logistics ports. That's another thing that I need to automate. Which means you gotta go do it by hand. Ugh. These processors. This is something else that I was looking to create crafting line down here. I'm kind of working on a bunch of different competing priorities at once, which is kind of how it goes for a game like DSP. The idea would be for all of these to feed into something that's producing the processors so that I don't have to keep doing it by hand. But in the meantime, while we're getting everything set up, I'm crafting by hand. These that do graphene? Yes. Okay, while we're waiting for all the processors to craft, we can set up our second row of chemical plants, which is going to be for creating the graphene. Looks like the Mark 1 belts, yeah, they're lagging a little bit. It's okay. Eventually, when we overhaul everything, I'm going to make it so that the setup is not kind of resource choked, but it's going to be a little bit before we get to that point. Processors. What are these called? Plasma exciters, and then just regular iron plates. The plan here is to have the bots fly over a bunch of coal here, and then we're going to turn that into the energetic graphite and then run that up to the chemical plants there. I'll have to do one row so it's not pulling every bit of coal. And at the same time, we have to keep an eye on our overall power consumption. We're running, well, we're not researching anything actively. We're running at about 50%. Our energy needs are going to need to be addressed at some point in the near future. Okay, I think we can do 4. This line's going to go right underneath these. And this is going to be graphene production, which will dump into... I have like a storage chest thing here. Plants will run. Let's run 4 of these to start. And output, I guess we can dump output like right here in our large chest. Okay, all these things are going to go in there. And then eventually we'll be able to take all of the graphene and then send it to where we need. And that should cover us for a bit. I'll grab some more belts. keep an eye on our supply of titanium. Again, this is what's being manually trucked back and forth, which I do need to grab more silicone too. We'll do that. I can show off what it looks like to travel between the two bases I've been working on. Let's just make sure the graphene is going. Okay, good. We'll dump all of our random junk in here for now. Let's take a trip. I think we're 1 or 2 tiers away from unlocking the kind of light speed jump ability. We don't have that now, so basically we have to just fly at top speed. And as long as we don't fly close to that, which is the dark fog hive, which I'm actually very, very close to, I'm going right under it. As long as we don't get close to that, we won't draw direct aggro from the enemy. They won't come after us, and if they do, I am toast, because I don't have any sort of defense other than what's equipped on my mech. So I can't fight fleets of ships in space. Not yet. Once we get purple science, we should be able to unlock 1 faster speed for sure. But if we look at, this is the tech tree for all of our building upgrades. This is our mech upgrades here. Yeah. We need the level 4 mech core, which needs purple science, and then we can unlock space warp, which will make getting between the planets almost instantaneous. But for now, we gotta hoof it manually. It takes 2 minutes or so just to fly between the two. Okay. Let me recharge. And I'll explain what I built here. So on this planet, which is sort of like a moon, there's no water here. But we put a belt of solar panels going around the equator so that there's always constant power flow coming in as the planet rotates around and is exposed to the sun. Here is pretty much only 1 major production site. Again, I want to build more here once I have planetary logistics. I can fly things around. But this is where titanium ore is found, since there's none on Homeworld. So it's being mined here, smelted, and stored here, and I have to basically fly to this site, load up my inventory, and then fly it back. We're a glorified space trucker for the moment. But we're also producing and stockpiling silicone, which is native to this planet, not found on the Homeworld. So this is what we're here for here. Grab more of this. And basically, as I've been trying to progress up the tech tree and build stuff on the home planet, I've been alternating running and grabbing titanium and silicone and flying it back and forth while fending off the dark fog when they occasionally try and settle down to one of my planets. Compared to when I streamed this before, the overall core loot for DSP is not different. There's some new buildings and some things I haven't really checked out that were added in the recent builds as they hopefully get close to leaving early access. But some of the big changes they've been talking about haven't been rolled out yet. But I thought it'd be fun to at least dip back in for a bit. I don't know if I'll be streaming this consistently for now, but the goal will be to try and get closer to the end game and the final stretches faster than we did in the original save. Which, just looking at the file, if the in-game ticks are the same as regular time passed, we put about 130 hours into our main save that we did on stream here. And we're at about 27 hours now by the same time metric. And we're close to being able to leave the planetary system. I think if I can do it before 50, then we're making better time. Okay, so we touch down, drop off our cargo. Which goes over here. And we'll zoom what we're working on. Okay, graphene was our main component. We need carbon nanotubes next, I believe. This will go into a couple components later, specifically the particle broadband. This is what goes into making the purple science. So that's kind of our end goal there. But before that, we want particle containers. So I really need to get down here. Electromagnetic turbines. And copper's abundant. We have that in stock already. So let's see what we can do to short production. I might have to section out part of the base to make more of the magnetic coils. Which you might be able to do. Over here. We could go right down here, maybe put 5 or 6 and have them feed up here. Because when we start pulling from this supply, it's going to deplete quickly because we'll be burning it faster than we're producing it. Alright. And we'll put a logistics distributor on top of this stack of just regular magnets. Yeah. Because we want fidget spinners to fly these and copper down to a production site here, and then the output will get belted back up and dumped in here. We'll have one grabbing the magnets and we'll run a manual belt. should be able to squeeze right through here. That should be enough. Grab one row of magnets from here. And run copper from here. The actual assembly line will run 1, 2, see if we can fit 5 here, and then run everything back up to the storage. Just enough clearance. It's not the most elegant, but it'll do for now. The general idea for this particular playthrough, like the other ones we've done in games like this, would be to get everything doing what we need and assembling what we need, and then we'll make it pretty later. Should be enough room for one more. That's okay. Okay, we'll work backwards on the construction tree. Technically, we need electric motors too. And gears are coming from over here. Down here. Not super ideal. What if there's enough range? If I make the engines here to fly to the other side, I could try it. These require rings or coils, ingots, and gears. We get 2 of those things from right here. Fly in coils here. Maybe do 3 or 4 of the engines and just have them stored on the side. They're gonna have to get flown all the way back over here where I was building the other components for the turbines. Not good location, but it's fine. We get planetary logistics. I'm probably gonna tear this whole base out, assuming I'll just build a new one somewhere else. We'll have it grab one row, just like we did on the other one. output will go right here, dump into a chest. Whoops. I want to do that. This particular series of combustible fuel is what I'm using for my mech's energy source. Which I didn't realize we were out of. Output goes there. Have the spinners grab magnetic coils. Oh, it's colliding with. It's not the grid. Weird. Okay, I guess we're only putting 2 there. I can understand if it was past the lines right here where it narrows, but alright, well, 2 will have to do for now. It's not really enough. Maybe we can wrap around. We'll go 90 degrees. Move that. Set up the same way. Input. There we go. Well, it fits up here. Now this is a production source here that we can use to fly things over. Back over here, I guess. Would make the most sense. We could put them further up, I guess. Put the turbines here. Maybe right in the middle. I think we have enough range. Guess we'll find out. We'll have those craft automatically while we're going. Just to get some more. Now, I guess this will be a test. If we can get the coils from all the way over here, which... How's supply looking? Well, we're not running a deficit yet. Let's see if we can pull it in faster. Mark II belts. We're going to solve this particular problem at some point. Let's see if that gets it into stock faster. We're running out of... We might be burning magnets faster than we're producing them. Temporary problem. Okay, so up here we're going to do 2 storage chests requesting the engines and the turbo. Rather, the engines and the coils to make turbines. That's the last component we need for the containers, which we'll do further down. And we're gonna need more spinners. I might also grab more components for processors and just queue them up more, building all these other things. start with 50. They'll queue up as soon as we finish replicating all of these. Again, producing the stuff ourselves with our mech is horribly inefficient, but that's why we're ultimately going to try and get towards having all the stuff automated. And then we won't have to worry about it. Okay, you grab coils. And I think you're only going to need to grab 4 stacks for now. And you're going to grab engines. Motors, rather. And this is where we're going to produce the turbines. We'll dump them into storage, and then we won't have to worry about it for a minute. We'll roll 4 of these for now. And you can always add on more later, but that should be good for the moment. Could add another one. All right, save our progress. And before we move on, let's check our titanium and our silicon. Silicon's, that's about the same. This stuff doesn't get burned as fast as the titanium. Okay. While the stuff is under production, while we're crafting more of the spinners, let's take a side trip back to the other base. Grab some more raw materials. Which way is it? I'm facing the wrong direction. Am I blind? Where's base 2? There it is. Alright, now that we got a minute while we fly between planets, I wanted to do kind of like a quick wrap-up of the upcoming things I want to be working on for the streams going into next week. I think we'll be able to resume our playthrough of Monster Hunter Stories 3 next time. I'm not exactly sure why it wasn't loading my saves, but I ran it offline and it seemed like it was working fine. So we'll pick back up where we were left off in the side content and main story. In Stories 3, my two priorities are working on that some more and then finishing Shadow of Naju. I think we're maybe one session, maybe two away from finishing Shadow of Naju. So depending on how much time I have to stream next week, we'll be doing at least one of those, and I think I want to do another drawing stream. And so I should have a schedule up before the end of the day today. We'll kind of get back into the regular swing of things. It's also been a while since we've done a Beatbox Jam stream. We'll definitely do at least one of those before the end of the month. Maybe in the last week of May. I've been working on some stuff for music outside of streams. I'm not as far as I would like to be with all the recording stuff for the upcoming album, but I'm working on a couple different projects at once. So hopefully I'll be able to release some stuff soon. Okay, we're gonna grab all the titanium we can carry and zip back. Next time we come back, we'll get silicon. Looks like the main hive hasn't dispatched another, was a relay station, I think they're called, which orbits above the planet but starts setting down base infrastructure. And if you don't get rid of them before they form a base, they'll start producing attacking units, and then they'll harass your factory site. So keep an eye out. Make sure that we don't lose track of what the Dark Fog's doing. There is an empty core drilling site on the moon base that they've been dispatching a thing to build a base, and then I put turrets there, so every time they do, it just blows it up. But it looks like they're not going to go back there. I could put a power generator in that drilling site, take advantage of it. Next time we pop over there, we'll go get more of the silicon ingots. Can we research? We'll keep going with our ongoing upgrades. Can't get range. Can we get speed? Cannot get speed. I might be able to get, was it reinforced thruster? Yeah. 1600 red. Okay. This is the precursor to interstellar logistics, which is what's going to allow our shipment vessels to eventually go between planets and then later between planetary systems way, way down the road. So we definitely want that. Looks like we're tapped out on engines. Which is fine for now. Eventually we're going to want these being produced at a much larger scale because a lot of things take these turbines. But we can handcraft some of the containers just to start getting our planetary logistics, and then drones. Oh, drones are going to be expensive. We need to make these thrusters. Oh, that's not bad. Iron plus copper. Also not producing iron at a super high rate. Or not iron, this is steel. That's fine. We can grab some from here to create thrusters. And I'll probably have to handcraft those as well for now. Could put thrusters right up here. Okay, this is kind of kicking up our power consumption. All these bots flying back and forth. The grid's going to need to be supplemented at some point soon. I might have to go hydrogen. Hydrogen fuel. And maybe nuclear reactors? Mini fusion. That's expensive though. It'll get us 15 megawatts of power per. Right now we've got these, which is 2. Okay, you grab steel. Copper. Okay. Put a couple. Maybe we'll do like 3. We don't need the thrusters in large amounts yet. We'll do 4 stacks for now. So I'll be crafting the drones by hand, just for the moment. processors, processors, iron plates or ingots, and thrusters. Okay, we should craft a bunch of these so we can start building the logistics stations. But since we've been working on all this other stuff, we should have some graphene stored up. Yeah. How many of these does one tower take? Ugh, 20 of them, okay. Let's, while we're doing that, start getting the processor production underway. That we can do right here. Or, I didn't realize this was here. We could run a belt from this one. And this one, since they're same components. We'll go 4. Power's creeping up about 70%-ish. We're gonna need steel, titanium, processors, and a bunch of these things. And how long that takes to craft. I see we got a hydrate and a drop a beat from lava. I can do both of those things, which is good. While I'm waiting for this stuff to craft, we can fly to the other planet, grab some more silicon ingots. We'll do the beat before that because I kind of need to pay attention, make sure I don't overshoot the planet. So what can we queue up? I'll just let it go for now. All right. Let me pause the music. And put my headphones on. Let's see what we can come up with. Maybe something a bit more kind of mid-tempo instead of something fast. Like, it seems like a lot of the songs in the BGM pack are kind of quick. So maybe slow it down. Go for something with a bit more kind of punch and impact to it. Oh, let me do this too. Mic check. All right, let's get it. All right, put the music back on. Make sure I save. And let's go on another supply run for silicon. Oh yeah, Lava, since you're here, and I think you mentioned it one or two streams ago, I was curious how your journey into the genre of power metal's going. I'm curious if you've checked out any new bands or found any other ones you like since you mentioned it. Oh, those are finished crafting. Okay. When we go back, we can start crafting some towers and drones. And then it's going to be basically satellite-based production. It's going to be fun. Be nice when we get some upgraded energy capacity for our mech as well, along with recharge rate. When we get the kind of hyperspace warp ability, having to do this is not going to be nearly as tedious. We'll be able to quickly jump almost instantly between the planets because they're so close together, when we need to just grab a bunch of cargo and go back and forth. Which is why I want to get the planetary logistics set up and then go kind of full speed into purple science. I have to relearn how to set up the planetary logistics, or interplanetary and then interstellar later. By the time we get the next couple tiers of inventory upgrades, it won't matter. We might have to do this manual trucking back and forth for a little bit more, but once we have it automated and we're flying cargo back and forth with the vessels, that'll be nice. Alright, that's good enough. Okay, got all that. Now we have everything we need for towers. We need steel and titanium. We can make 3. Okay, we need more processors. It's better. Now we can make 5. Yeah, because we have 100. Okay, to start. Now we need drones to actually carry stuff. So that's thrusters. More processors. Iron. Ooh, I should have set a limitation on how much of this I was grabbing. Whoops. We only really need like 2 stacks because this is just for thrusters. Oh well. Is it 10 per tower? Remember how many that lets us slot in. We'll make 40 of them. Start there. Yeah, now we finally have towers. Shut up. I think it's 10. We'll find out once it finishes crafting. Okay, so this is pretty substantial. Oh, we won't have to worry about that. But once we start setting these things down and telling them to accumulate materials, it's going to put a massive drain on the power grid. Because one of these things draws 60 kilowatts when it's charging, up to 60 megawatts when we have the charging power set at maximum. I have it set to 30, which we do not have a big buffer. In fact, one of those is going to put us well over 100. Let's see, how many more coal deposits are there? Well, there's a lot of coal here. We might need to do power first, which is a little bit annoying. Let's see, coal here. 8 million is a decent amount. Or another way to deal with that would be to go to an oil site, maybe something here that's got 2 crude oil nodes, and we go hydrogen. But the problem with that is that requires titanium, so we can't do that yet. We'd have to manually haul titanium just to keep the fuel supply going. That's not really sustainable. These are 54 megajoules of power per rod. Combustion ones are 9. There's an upgrade to that. What's this? These are 20. Oh wow. They take the regular combustion fuel, plastic, and sulfuric acid. Nah, I don't want to do that. I think we're gonna have to go coal. Okay, so first thing to do would be to find a bunch of coal somewhat close together. And we won't need to use planetary logistics, actually. We just might need to put up a big power line to connect them somewhere else. We're going to use thermals. Not the most effective and efficient way to do it. Temporary solution for now. Okay. These things, these are geothermal power stations, something else you can craft. When you have a heat source, these things generate a pretty decent amount of energy per thing. These will generate 4, 5, 4.8 versus these generate 2, so about more than double. But you need a heat source, so if you go to a lava planet, you can put these all over and they'll generate tons of energy. When the dark fog sends their relay stations down, they start drilling into the planet to create their bases. When you take the base out, it leaves this big hole that goes into the planet. You can set these things up on top and they'll actually operate at a much higher capacity, and they'll boost your energy grid. In general, I found that to be a bit more effective than just covering the hole up and then supplementing the power grid in the early game, in the short term. Later on, when that's not going to be a substantial amount of power, we would just cover it up and then put something else there. But for now, it's free power. Okay, coal. Let's go over here. This is where our main power field is. Maybe we can build around that instead of setting up a whole new site somewhere. Real question is, why is it taking such a long time for this thing to restock. Should be close enough. These 3 rows assemblers are supposed to be routing these combustible units to the power plants over here, but there's not enough coal. Not sure why. Maybe it's just too far away. This big deposit right here has got 3 mining machines dumping coal into this main storage thing, which is pretty quick. Maybe it would just be easier to run direct lines out of here to make the combustible units and then funnel them over to power that way. We could also run them directly. It's less efficient to do that because 1 unit of coal is 2 megajoules of energy versus these, which are 9. But technically, if it's feeding out really fast, then there should be no issue keeping the power plants charged. Huh. Let's try that. We just need more power on the grid in general. We'll run it kind of parallel up here. We can compare. Will that sustain 5 of them? Might be feeding too slow. No, I don't think it's sustaining long enough. Basically, it's not topping up with a surplus, so we could only sustain a couple of them. Well, let's see. You need to get all the way down here at the end. No, I don't think that's as efficient. It will do, it looks like 4. I'm not seeing them shut off. Hmm. 4 with Mark II inserters. I wonder if that really makes a difference. It definitely does. So we had Mark IIs, we could do 4 rows of 4. Or if we had these things creating combustible units, we could do rows of 5. Hmm. We could try smelting the coal 1 tier up to energetic graphite. That gives us 6. And it's easier to produce than the combustible units. Let's try that. Running on low on smelters. I think 4. 4 is kind of the limit. Let's try the same thing. Put a line down here. And see if that allows us to get a row of at least 4 power plants running with Mark 1s. I have to go create more of these. Well, it definitely works better than the coal. What if we did Mark IIs just on the first one? Okay, that does look like it will barely get up to 5, so I think 4. We're out. Alright, we need to make those. This boosts our grid up to how much? 193. Okay. Let's make more of these thermals. Yeah, we got stuff for that. Okay. Before we start doing all of the planetary logistics stuff, let's see if we can build the grid out, maybe to like 300 or close to 300. And that should give us enough to not have to worry about it for a minute. Stone, iron. Gears. Coils. Coils. Okay, we'll do rows of 4. And let's see how long it takes before we're tapping out the consumption from 4 of the smelters. Hey, Dr. Leon's here. What's up, Dr. Leon? How's it going? Welcome to the Dyson Sphere Program stream, where I talk endlessly about builds and efficiency and all sorts of other stuff. Dr. Leon says I have done it again. That is ominous. What did you do? Okay, 12. 12, maybe 16. Try 16. Killed the ancients, huh? Is that figurative or is that literal? Way to keep those pesky ancients in their place. Okay, that puts us up to 216. Maybe go to closer to 250. Call it good. put another smelting line here and run a parallel set of another 16, and then hopefully that'll sustain the power grid for a bit. Dr. Liam says a human blender that runs on child labor won't build itself. And now you're speaking like a tech company. Ah, man, more smelters. It'd be nice once that's automated. Have you ever seen this game before, Dr. Liam? I haven't streamed it in a very long time. Well, this might be the first time some of you folks are seeing me play through DSP. If not, and you want me to explain what you're looking at, then I can definitely do so. Ah, okay. Yeah, so Dyson Sphere Program, or DSP, whenever I use that term, that's what I'm referring to. I am not talking about Dark Side Phil. We don't talk about that guy here. This is a factory auto sim game, similar in vein to something like Factorio, which we've streamed here, Satisfactory. The whole purpose of the game is you are in control of a mech character named Icarus, and your goal is to accumulate resources and build increasingly more complex levels of tech, moving up the upgrade tech tree, which looks like this. From here all the way to here at the end. And along the way, you'll upgrade parts and components for your mech too that improves its functionality and abilities. There's a lot of them. And as you proceed up the tech ladder and accumulate more advanced resources and build more advanced components, you'll eventually get the ability to leave the planet that you start on, start building on other planets, like our second base over here on base 2. And all the while that's happening, the entity known as the Dark Fog, which are basically hostile alien robots, are also building in your same space. Sometimes they will be on your planet, sometimes they'll be on other planets, but they are constantly amassing their forces, and when they deem you a big enough threat, they will send their forces down to your planet to create bases and attack you. These are squadrons of fighters from their hive cluster. We currently do not have the means to take them on and fight at a space scale. We could fight them to some extent on the planet with some weaponry, but eventually we'll need to get the ability to create our own space-ready craft that'll fight them, kind of like a fleet command. And all of that is going on while we try and get the ability to, again, get between planets, and eventually, I haven't shown this yet since we've been playing, once we get the ability to leave our home planetary system, each one of these glowing dots is another cluster of planets in the star system. Eventually, we'll get the ability to warp to other planetary systems, set up bases there, and start trafficking resources from one planet to another, while trying to drive the Dark Fog out of our space and expand our empire. Also nice with the 3-stream streak, Dr. Liam. I appreciate you tuning in. I know my stream schedule's been really erratic lately. I was out of town last week in far off lands of California visiting my brother and his family. But we should be able to dial in a more consistent schedule the next week or so. At which point we'll be continuing our other playthroughs, working on art and all that other good stuff. But I thought I'd kind of do like a return stream to DSP, because this is a new save. This is not the one we were playing through all those years ago. these. I think we need more brick. Dr. Loom says you have yet to smash or pass the screaming, pulsating dodecahedron of human flesh. It has many holes. Yeah, but what's its personality like? Alright, what do we need? More of gears? Gears and brick. And so, as you're progressing through DSP and again fighting off alien robots and trying to advance your tech and whatnot, one of the big things in these factory auto sim games is learning how to make your bases and factories efficient. And we are in the process of slowly building up towards our first major milestone in planetary logistics, which is the ability to build these big broccoli-looking towers. Where are you? They look like this. And these things allow us to pour resources into a central point, and then drones will fly them to other sites across the home planet that we're working on, reducing the need for things like belts. This is kind of a spaghetti base, as they call it. We want it to be a lot more seamless in having all the resources being tracked to one spot, and then using those resources to build out all of the components so that they're not all scattered. I'm having to look for assemblers here or belts here. We want it all organized. Oh, I said I was going to build more smelters too. Yeah, what's your question, Dr. Liam? Fire away. I did see your explanation that the dodecahedron of human flesh screams and is into real-time strategy games. That's nice. Your question is, what's the sexiest machine in this game? I can't build it yet, but my vote would be for... Might be a little bit difficult to see because I can't zoom in any further than this, but the Interstellar Logistics Station is my vote for sexiest machine. This thing is a much bigger version of the towers. This allows me to take ships, cargo ships, and fly them between planets to move stuff around. And when I eventually upgrade my tech, these stations will allow me to send ships between planetary systems using warp technology. So you can create this big highway of vessels tracking important resources to and from different systems, and this building right here is what enables you to do it. It's extremely powerful and very useful, and when you zoom out to the star map and you just see a conga line of dozens of ships flying between planetary systems, it is strangely satisfying to look at. So if that tickles your fancy, then by all means, go nuts. Just remember to use protection. You wouldn't want to catch a virus. Okay. That should be enough to allow us to build up our power grid a bit more. And Dr. Liam says, now for you to make a rap about me and my sexy doctoral ideas. Well, I can't rap and beatbox at the same time, but I will create a sick beat for you. Let me move sites here, and then we will do just that. Ooh, I feel... And what happened up here? We ran out of fuel. Might have to do 12, not 16 of them. Or we have to get more of these in one. Okay, I gotta redo this. Alright, I'll get your beat in a second. Just let me complete my thoughts so I don't forget what I was doing. Let's go 6. Are you talking about the background music that's playing? Whoop, that's the wrong way. This playlist does have some funky tracks. Very like video game chiptune inspired tracks. Okay, you go down there. Save it. Maybe pause the music for just a sec. I'm gonna get that beat going. There we go. I had I had not started beatboxing yet. You're hearing the background music. That's what you're talking about. You'll know that I'm beatboxing when 1, I got the mic, and 2, I got the headphones. That's how you know I'm about to drop a beat. I'm glad people are redeeming that again. Seems like for a while no one was redeeming drop a beat. I know it's expensive, so it's all good. Now, we did something when Lava redeemed this. We did something a bit more kind of slower and punchy. I'm thinking to kind of build off of Dr. Liam's vast love for technology. We do something a little bit faster, like a drum and bass beat, which is one of my favorite genres to do. So let's pick up the pace a little bit and see how it turns out. All right. Let us put the music back on. Put the mic down. Take off the headphones. And proceed on. Oh, thanks for the kind words, Dr. Liam. We have fun here. Maybe, I should have grabbed more belts while I was down at the main base. I'm going to do another line of smelters now that I have more of them. Dr. Liam says, for your efforts, you get a sword. Can you send me a reference on Discord? A reference to what specifically? You want like a character reference or I can give you a reference to something I think would make a cool sword design. Depends, like what kind of reference are you looking for? Like a creature reference? Because you can make me like a Monster Hunter themed sword. I can give you a monster reference. That would be rad. I gotta get more belts. Character? Okay, I can give you a reference to my model. Uh, Give me one sec. Can you send me a request? And then I'll grab the information and I'll send it to you in DM. I'm in. Are you in my Discord? Oh, look. Then you won't need to send me a request if I do that. Here, let me send you a link to our Discord. Then I'll send it to you through there directly. Let's see. Also, if you want to join the Discord, I always forget to link it. All right, I got you. Let me grab my model reference real quick. Here's a pre-render of my model. And as far as a trait that contributes to me the most, probably I would say maybe creation or creativity. A lot of the stuff that I do, not just for content, but just in general, involves making something, whether it's music, art, or other things. Creativity is probably my most noteworthy trait that's actually practical. That's cool. I haven't been following a lot of the recent crew discussions, so I probably haven't seen your work if you posted it, but I'll have to check it out because that's a neat project. I do like weapon design, so the concept of making swords is pretty cool. Belts, belts. Why are we down here? Belts. Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead and send them. That's pretty neat. Now, do you integrate the ideas of sword types in addition to the concepts that you're putting in there, or are they all like similar styles of swords with unique attributes for the person you're creating one for? Like, are they always broadswords or great swords, or do you like to tailor that towards the person? Okay, we're gonna see if this works. We're gonna supplement the incoming amounts of energized graphite. See if that'll sustain the power grid a little bit better. go 6 and 6. Ah, I see. So it is type and style dependent. That's cool. I like the pixel art style. Very neat. Ah, I was wondering about the nut free. Understood. Is Soren allergic to nuts? Is that where that comes from? Ooh, I didn't realize I was burning my Mark IIs. Oh well. I'm gonna need to make more of those. I see. That makes sense. Using traits from the crew worms to sort of drive what attributes you give the weapon itself. Okay, this looks like it's pretty sustainable. If I can tack on a fifth one. Yeah, that looks like it'll do it. Okay. This is actually going to supplement our power grid pretty well. I like your choice of colors on them too. Like the unique color paletting and combination of different colors. I imagine also comes from like the worm palettes, matching like the color scheme for whomever you're doing the design for. Very cool. Okay, this puts our grid up to 234. I'm looking at the burn rate on the coal that's being used. I think it's overall being burned now. It's being burned faster than it's coming in. So what we really need is, if we're going to do a power field up here, we want a logistics station that's going to grab coal from anywhere else. There's a decent amount here. Have we tapped all of our coal nodes? No, there's another one here. 8 million here. There's only like 2 left. 8 million, 8.1 there. Now, Dr. Liam, I don't know if this makes a difference for how you design swords, because again, the swords themselves, my weapon of choice is a pole arm. Back when I was in martial arts like 50 years ago, my weapon was the bow, like the staff. So I like long range weapons. If you're strictly sticking to swords, then come up with whatever design you feel is appropriate. But if it was like a pole arm type weapon, that is my preferred choice of actual practical weapon. Maybe something like a glaive. Though I don't specialize in bladed weapons, but I would definitely use one if I needed to. We could have one station here gathering up all of the coal and then fly it over here. Or because it's not that far away, we could just belt it in, I guess. Yeah, we could belt it in. Tricky thing is, we only have a few more ports on this particular storage thing before it's full. Let's maybe do this. Ah, I see something that looks like it might be inspired by like the design aesthetic of Ruby. That's cool. I've never seen Ruby, but I know what it is. And I've seen stuff with the characters. Like people have done art and whatnot of the characters, but I've never seen it. I have an idea on what to do with the storage here. I'm going to do a parallel storage set of crates next to the ones up there. Okay. Keep an eye on the time before it gets too late, but I want to get a couple more objectives done here before we get ready to wrap for today. We're going that direction. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a pole arm. I'm sure you can come up with a more sword focused design. I'm not trying to change up your process. I trust you. Now here's a question for you, Dr. Liam. Since it sounds like you're kind of like a weapons fan, aficionado. What do you think on the concept of scythes being used as weapons in popular media? Do you think they're played out, or do you think their representation is okay? Okay, still burning. Okay, we're gonna feed these here and belt them into these crates, and this is going to be like overflow feeding into here. We'll see if that kind of solves our overall supply problem for a bit. I need more Mark IIs though. Okay, now see, I think that's a pretty fair and reasonable take. I feel like scythes are used as more of an aesthetic choice than a practical choice, because you see things like, you know, really fancy intricate bladed scythes in like character designs, specifically in like anime, or you see like techno scythes which use a lot of like circuitry or other types of technology kind of mixed in. I think it's a cool concept. I just think it's more chosen because of like how it looks as opposed to how practical it's going to be, which is like all of fiction really. And there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, there are not enough of those. Great. Craft engines. See, I can't really speak too much because from like games and stuff that I play, for example, Monster Hunter. I talk about Monster Hunter all the time. My favorite weapon from Monster Hunter is the gun lance. Is it a realistic and practical weapon? No, probably not. It's a gun lance. But is it cool? Yeah, it's really cool. So you can definitely bet on lots of gun lance propaganda whenever I'm playing Monster Hunter. It's not the only weapon I play. I play almost all of them pretty much, but that's my favorite. Need to get back to Wilds at some point. Think once we've spent our time going through Stories 3, I'll probably go back to grinding in Wilds. I haven't done everything I wanted to do in that game, and I think we're really close to getting an announcement for the expansion for Wilds very soon. Okay, we need to run another long belt. Might be able to get three mining machines up here to cover all of the nodes, belting down to that one crate. Dr. Liam says also depends on what media you're trying to put the scythe in. Realistic settings, scythe users are most likely not are most likely going to be ineffective. Fantasy can toss realism out the window, so scythes can work. Yeah, that tends to be what they do for like things like anime. You have like magical or like a fantasy aspect to it, which gives a lot more practicality and function to a weapon like that. I think it'd be interesting to go back in through like the media history and see where that idea first kind of emerged as, something that deviated from like the Grim Reaper's lore and like a farm tool to being like a real complex high fantasy weapon. I don't know who did it first, but it'd be interesting to see where that sort of started because you see it all over the place now. Where's the last port? On the right. Yeah, scythes are a pretty large, heavy weapon, and the way they're traditionally held is not the way you see them in like media and fantasy stuff. They're actually held like perpendicular the way the handle is. Most people wield them in fantasy like a pole arm. Now, hand sickles I could see being a lot more kind of practical as like a close range melee weapon, something like a kama. We had those in my martial art as well, but I never learned how to use them. Yeah, and scythes are historically only bladed on one side, right? I feel like if you were going to make a dual edged version of that, it would kind of function more like an axe. But it'd be purely like cutting base damage. I think axes can be used to crush too because they're heavy. My guess is you'd want a scythe to be able to cut or stab. Okay, let's put 3. Okay, that's keeping the grid relatively stacked. Yeah, everything's going through. 234 should be enough. We'll have to see because there's a lot I want to start building and centralizing. Primarily, we want the two main metals, iron and copper. Iron, copper, and stone in that order. So to that end, we would essentially need to choose a site B, run power, and then from there start trying to figure out how we're going to centralize a lot of the resources. Dr. Liam says it also extends to another heavily misunderstood weapon in fiction, the katana, a weapon used for killing peasants. Yeah, it has kind of a whole lore and mythos and romanticism associated with it because of the samurai. I think the naginata is a really cool weapon. If I had to think of a bladed polearm to learn, it'd probably be that one. Piercing and cutting. Okay, here's 2 clusters over here. 1.4 copper. There is actually not a ton of resources left on this planet. I wonder if it would make more sense. Could start building up a logistics base on base 2. The problem is we need to prioritize getting stuff shipped. I have to think about that. I need to grab more titanium. Ah, I see what you're saying as far as it being an execution weapon. Plus, there's also different variants on the actual sword itself. There was smaller, larger versions. Japan history's got some interesting weapons that are not just swords. I remember reading about the Kusarigama is a really unique and interesting one. Sickle chain. I don't know anything about using it, but the concept I think is pretty unique compared to some of the other ones. Oh, I need to keep an eye on my fuel. Okay, I am going to queue up. Actually, we'll do it while we're talking. We'll do one more run to get silicon. And then we'll get ready to wind the stream down for today. Dr. Liam says, my favorite sword is actually the Viking short sword in terms of usefulness. My favorite sword in general is the Claymore. Claymore's a cool weapon. One weapon I like, let me make sure I'm thinking of the right one. And one weapon I've designed some things based off of the core shape and inspiration is the Shotel. That curved blade. You see them in like the Souls lore and stuff. It's got a unique shape. I've used that as kind of inspiration for some of my weapon designs before. From northern Ethiopia and southern central Eritrea. I did not know that. Dr. Liam says I also do know some info about guns. I do not know a lot about guns, despite being an American. I've only fired them once. All right, we'll grab our, ooh. This icon in the right, you can see this means the dark fog is dispatching a relay station to one of my planets where I have a base, and that happens to be this one. Oh, there it is. All right, I need to recharge, but we need to take that out. If we let it sit, then they will start to build up a base, amass attacking troops, and they'll start harassing our sites, start shooting our buildings. We don't want that. I think we have enough firepower to take out that thing before it starts building up its defenses. I have fired a rifle before. I think it was a 22. It was a small caliber rifle. Turns out I'm actually a really good shot with firearms. That's probably because I used to do archery decades ago. But I've shot handguns and a rifle. All right, if we destroy the base, that's what leaves the rift down in the core. I should have grabbed my power plants while I was there. Look at power plants and power poles. Oh, there's more than one. They've dispatched 2 to this planet? What? There's one. Where's the other one? Oh. Oh, that's the one that they didn't go back to. Okay, all right. By using the power relays here and the power poles, then this will get hooked up to the main grid. We have a pretty large cache of power here we're not actively using, but I probably will once I have more logistics supplies and get this set up, because we're going to need to start trucking stuff from here eventually. All right, let's charge up, fly this back, and then we'll get ready to wrap for today. And now I'm wondering if it's really going to be that much more worth it to completely scrap and overhaul Homeworld's base, because the resource spread is so small. I'll have to think about that. If I stream this again, there'll probably be a lot more different things done, so we'll see. All right, heading out, Dr. Liam. Thanks for tuning in, hanging out, and talking with me. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll stay tuned for the sword design when you eventually get that done. I'll take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one. We're almost down to our last crate of silicone here. We should have a lot of processors, though. Right. All right. Let's go ahead and save here, and we will get ready to wrap up here. Let me see who's online that we can raid. I wonder if any other VTubers are playing this. Not a ton of people playing DSP at the moment. I do see Chibi's online doing art. I haven't had a chance to raid her in a while. We can go head over and see how GB Maybe's doing. Oh, I saw a chat from Kerbaloid. What's up, Kerbaloid? Yeah, we were getting ready to raid one of my VTuber peers. If you want to see what we're doing in DSP, the VOD archive for today's stream will be up shortly. I'd say it was moderately productive. But sorry to raid and run on you. All right, let me pause this. And we'll go to outro. What's my tech level in DSP so far? We are getting ready to start Purple Science. We're trying to automate a bit of things and get planetary logistics up, which we kind of got close to and kind of got sidetracked a bit. But we're making progress, slowly but surely. But I'll probably come back to DSP in the near future. I just don't think it'll be immediately after this. Well, in the meantime, thanks for everyone who came by and hung out. Once I figure out next week's stream schedule, it will go up online. But until then, hope everyone has a good rest of your morning, day, or evening. And I will catch you folks in the next one. Now let's go see how Chibi's doing on the art stream.